Hi, my name is Managing Kim, and this is the final part of What is Gender Revisited. And in this episode I will be getting to the crux of the matter. What is gender identity? And is there really an internal sense of gender, some kind of innate, almost mystical knowing? It's hard for me to comment on this in a way. I've never really had a sure and unshakable sense of my own gender. It is impossible to know if other people do or not, because I cannot see inside their heads. And I've been all round the houses recently in terms of how I understand this matter. People have been denying that non-binary identities are real. Some, such as those transgender people who are critical of non-binary identities, will point to evidence that brains are gendered as male or female, but that there's no evidence of non-binary brains. Others, such as radical feminists, will claim the opposite, that there's no internal sense of gender anyway. They argue that what's not biological is socially constructed and a lot of damaging stereotypes. And I change my mind all the time. Could I go back to considering myself a man who is feminine or androgynous and simply defies and rebels against gender roles? Am I non-binary? Do I in fact want to be a woman? I'll try not to focus on my personal feelings in this video though. There will be another that voices recent changes in my gender journey. But I have also been in flux recently with regards to my interpretation about gender and whether I believe in an internal sense of gender or not. As for brains, there is evidence of gender differences in the brains of men and women, and that the brains of trans women and trans men resemble the brains of their identified sex, not their assigned sex. That much is indisputable. However, we know that brains are indeed shaped by their experiences. Could the very fact that people identify as men or women be what shapes their brains as male or female anyway? In that sense, it kind of begs the question. The brain reflects how the person feels. Big deal. That doesn't prove that it was that way from birth. Also, there is plenty of evidence of non-binary brains. There may be no studies on people who identify as non-binary, but there is overlap here. The studies show average differences, trends if you like, with a lot of variation within them. In fact, some trans women have brains that are intermediate between male and female. There is evidence for a non-binary brain right there. And if such a thing is possible, then of course it is possible, probable even, that those who identify as non-binary may have such intermediate brains. The gender differences in the brain are manifold. There are more than one region of the brain that differs according to gender. It would certainly be possible then if one region of the brain is gendered one way and another region is gendered another. How can you say it's not? We already know that the brain can develop differently gendered to the body. Why can't the different regions of the brain develop differently from each other? People who self-identify as non-binary are rare, because the words and concepts are quite new. This only means that in past generations most non-binary people would either continue to identify in accordance with their assigned gender and probably believe that gender is external, cultural and not ultimately real, like a lot of rad femmes do, or believe that they must identify with the opposite gender to be comfortable and happy. Perhaps that is why some trans women have intermediately gendered brains. In any case, the brain differences might be caused by the experience of our own gender anyway. Brains are shaped by our feelings and our experiences. The studies may actually beg the question. And I'm not a neuroscientist, and neither are most of the other people that comment on this. So let's leave the matter of brains to one side, shall we? It is possible that an internal knowing of your own gender, a mystical, innate feeling of being gendered that was present from birth, is in fact a myth. Something we have invented with good intentions to promote acceptance of transgender people. But there's no need to invent something to validate transgender experiences. If someone wishes to change their physical sex, then they have that right. It's their body. And physical dysphoria certainly seems to be a real and valid condition. Evidence seems to suggest that physical dysphoria, at least, is very deep-seated from early in childhood. Perhaps there really is something in the brain that tells you what body you should belong in. After all, we know that amputees often get a phantom limb. The brain expects a certain body, and so there will be a feeling that your body is wrong if it doesn't fit that internal body map in the brain. Makes sense that this would also be the case with regards to gender. And if someone feels more comfortable with one set of roles, appearance codes, pronouns, etc. than the other, then for fuck's sake, they have a right to be happy instead of miserable and suicidal. But when someone says that non-binary identities are not real, I cannot help but think, maybe none of it is real. It's an easy opinion for me to adopt because I simply have never felt a firm and unshakable sense of my own gender. I've always been questioning it, and I draw a complete blank when it comes to assessing my own feelings. Do I feel like a man? No, not really. Do I feel like a woman? What does that even mean? Do I feel like both, or neither, or in between? I don't know, it's all so confusing. Maybe nobody feels like a man or a woman, really. Maybe those who do are merely drawing a conclusion about what they are based on how they personally define the terms man or woman. Maybe some people feel like men or women while others don't, but it depends on what you were raised to believe about what men or women are or could be. The nature versus nurture debate. It's almost impossible to unravel at times. I'm sorry I don't have any definitive answers here. It still baffles and confuses me. So I'll end simply with this statement about gender that I wrote down a few weeks ago. You can define it as only physical, if you want. But clearly it is much more than that. And as for the cultural side of it, I think we've created a monster, with the power to hurt so many people, the potential to trap everyone, and we can't even see clear of it anymore because our society is drenched in gender. And that being the case, however they define and explain it, everyone needs to find their own way to move through the world comfortably. And we all need to have a good deal more compassion towards each other with regards to that. Thanks for watching.